Welcome to BearZone. I'm Brittany Wiley.
And I'm Joe Buchanan. Coming up, UNC hockey played in the conference semifinals. How did they finish?
Also, we have an update on the Winter Olympics.
We've got all that and more this week on BearZone. Don't go anywhere.
Fouls slow games down a lot, especially when the teams combine for almost 60. UNC men's basketball saw the impact Thursday at Idaho State. The Bears took the 10-4 lead early, but once they hit the 17-13 lead, things died down. UNC didn't make a basket for 7 minutes, giving Idaho State room to take a 40-32 lead at half. Things slowed down a lot, and the teams played the second half in chunks because of all the fouls. Idaho State held the lead for a while, but an Andre Spite 3 tied things up. The Bears went on a 17-2 run to secure the 85-82 win. With double coverage on Spite, Jordan Davis led the Bears with 24 points on 66% shooting. With the win, the Bears advanced their conference record to 7-5 before a trip to Ogden, Utah.
And speaking of that trip, the Bears headed down I-15 to Ogden, Utah to take on Weber State Wildcats Saturday. Both teams battled hard, but in the end, the Bears lost 71-66 in overtime. UNC took the lead early on in the first half and kept it going into halftime on top 29-19. But the Bears just couldn't keep their momentum, and Weber State fought hard in the middle of the second half, at one point going on a 9-0 run. With the score still close, the Bears had a chance to extend their lead by 3 points, but a missed free throw and foul by junior guard Jordan Davis put Weber State's Jarek Harding on the free throw line. He made both of his free throws, tying the game and sent the game into overtime. It was a tug-of-war battle between the two teams, but Weber State showed their strength in the end and got the win. Davis was the Bears' leading scorer with 17 points, and senior forward Tanner Morgan had 12 rebounds. The Bears return home this week to play their last 2 regular season games at the Bank of Colorado Arena. They take on Northern Arizona tonight and Southern Utah Saturday for Senior Day.
Saturday's women's basketball game was reminiscent of the men's game from a few weeks ago. Sure, it wasn't a half-court buzzer beater, but it was a game-winning three-pointer with 0.4 seconds left in overtime. The Bears defeated Weber State 71-69 Saturday behind Savannah Smith's game-winning three-pointer in overtime. The shot capped off a 15-point comeback for Northern Colorado, who started off slow. The Wildcats led after each of the first 3 quarters, with their lead swelling to 15 with 6 minutes left in the third quarter. That's when UNC started to mount a comeback, getting the deficit down to 7 by the end of the quarter. The Bears outscored WSU 15-8 in the final quarter, highlighted by Crystal Ledger-Walker's three-pointer that tied the game at 60 with 35 seconds left in regulation. Northern Colorado fell behind early in overtime, but managed to cut the deficit to 1 with under a minute left. Weber State went up by 1 with 4 seconds left, which prompted a timeout by UNC. The Bears drew up the play, and Smith did the rest, hitting the shot and completing the comeback. The Bears improved to 18-6 on the season, 10-3 in Big Sky play. They hit the road this week for the final time, but return home Saturday, February 24th for the final 3 games of the season.
Well, although the UNC hockey team lost in the Big Mountain Hockey Conference semifinals to CU Saturday, the team has bigger fish to fry. Saturday was a tough night for the Bears as CU held them scoreless through the first 2 periods. The Buffs opened the scoring with a goal with just over 9 minutes left in the first period. They scored again 6 minutes later to take a 2-0 lead in the first intermission. Neither team scored in the second, so Colorado carried their 2-goal lead into the final period. Northern Colorado managed to get within 1 with Colin Chamelka scored early in the third period, but that would be all UNC would get. CU advanced to the BMHC Championship Sunday and won the title with a 5-2 win over Denver. While it might have been the Bears' final home game of the season, they're not finished yet. They play in the regional playoffs beginning February 22nd in Ogden, Utah. The Clink of the Bats. And the crowd roars. It's finally time for softball again. UNC didn't waste any time securing a winning record at the Total Control tournament in Illinois. The Bears left Rosemont with a 3-2 record after outscoring their opponents 32-10. The 3 wins included a 5-0 shutout over Loyola and big-time hot bats to secure a 15-1 win over Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis. But those hot bats went cold in shutout losses against Eastern Kentucky and DePaul in the tournament. The Bears look to keep their bats hot at the Sam Houston State Tournament in Huntsville, Texas this weekend.
Cold and icy at UNC, but hot and record-breaking for UNC indoor track and field. Last weekend's Don Kirby Invite in Albuquerque, New Mexico saw 2 20-year-old records broken. In the 800-meter, Evan Keeley broke a 21-year-old record when he finished in 1 minute 53.01 seconds. The previous record was 1 minute 53.03 seconds. Stephen Haas broke a 23-year-old record in the 3,000 meter when he finished in 8 minutes 43.29 seconds. Right behind Haas was Josh Campbell, who finished the 3,000 meter in 8 minutes 45.78 seconds, making him the 3rd fastest in the event at UNC. Another big performance came from triple jumper Juliet Cosi, whose mark of 11.97 meters landed her in the top 200 nationally. The Bears hope to continue the momentum when they head to the University of Northern Arizona for the Big Sky Indoor Track and Field Championships on February 22nd. From snowy to 60 degrees, what will it be like this weekend?
We've got a basketball game here on campus at 7 p.m. We've already seen our high of around 44 degrees today, and winds are currently sustained at around 30 miles per hour, which is going to make for a cold and windy walk to that game if you're going tonight. Our next sporting event isn't until Saturday, where we're going to see temperatures around 50 degrees and sunny skies and winds sustained at around 20 miles per hour. On Sunday, we've also got tennis matches. It's going to be around 55 degrees for the high that day, with partly cloudy skies and winds again around 20 miles per hour. Now enjoy the nice weather this weekend while it lasts, because Monday and Tuesday next week it's going to be chilly and cloudy. We're looking at temperatures not even reaching 30 degrees and lows not even reaching 10 degrees. Again, and those winds staying around 20 and 10 miles per hour. The Olympics have also been seeing their fair share of high winds. Just in the past week, they've had at least 3 delays and more wind in the forecast. Strong gusts have already knocked over tents, refrigerators. Anything that's on the slopes has most likely been knocked over by these high winds. And we've also seen one athlete from Australia be injured by this hazardous weather. Now, the reason why high winds are so dangerous to athletes is because they're already going down the mountain at such high speeds that any change in the speed or direction of the wind can completely throw them off course and be very dangerous for them. And speaking of the Olympics, did you know that all of the snow at the Winter Olympics is fake? According to weather.com, there was a 33.7 million gallon lake constructed that was supplied by a local river for the snow. The reason why they did this was to make the snow more durable and more consistent for the athletes. Also, the mountains where the games are being held have local topography that makes it so that cold and dry air usually flows over the mountains, which isn't very good for snow production. But boy, is all that snow beautiful. And we just love watching the Olympics. Back to you.
If you don't know the name Red Gerard, you soon will. After all, his name's synonymous with gold. The 17-year-old Olympian broke all kinds of records in Pyeongchang when he scored the first gold medal from Team USA in slopestyle snowboarding. Gerard is only 17 years old, making him the youngest person to win gold in a snowboarding event and the youngest U.S. Olympic winter champion since 1928. But that's not all. Gerard also holds the title for the first Olympic medalist to be born this century. He has been boarding since he was a toddler. His family moved to Silverthorne, Colorado when he was just 8 years old to bring him closer to the slopes. After his race, the teen could hardly believe his own success. Gerard said, "Just to land a run would have been plenty for me, and to get on the podium, but to get first is crazy." Second and third place went to Canadians Max Perot and Mark McMorris.
Controversy in the Winter Olympics isn't limited to competitions. U.S. Olympic figure skater Adam Rippon voiced concerns about Vice President Mike Pence leading the U.S. delegation in the opening ceremony because of the VP's history of supporting anti-LGBT legislation. Rippon is one of 2 openly gay athletes representing Team USA in Pyeongchang, Korea this year. Pence reportedly tried to schedule a meeting with the skater after reading his criticisms in USA Today. Rippon says, "Mike Pence doesn't stand for anything that I really believe in. He rejected the meeting to focus on training and says that he would be open to a conversation after competition is over."
Last week was the NBA trade deadline, and we saw a 3-way trade that landed Denver's Emmanuel Mudiay in New York and Dallas's Devin Harris as the Denver's newest point guard. So how has he done in his first appearances in blue and gold? Well, it's clear he's trying to find his place in the Mile High City. He has yet to break double digits in any stat in his 2 games for Denver, but even with Harris clunking in the lineup, the Nuggets still triumphed this week. Friday, they traveled to Houston to take on James Harden's Rockets. The Nuggets ran into a buzzsaw on both offense and defense, never once leading the game. They lost in a blowout 130-104, but moving to Saturday, the Nuggets headed to Phoenix. Nuggets took control early, but a third-quarter comeback by the Suns made fans wary. But the Nuggets weren't about to relive their last game. The offense exploded in the 4th quarter, and the Nuggets won 123-113. The Nuggets returned home Tuesday for a date with the San Antonio Spurs. 20 lead changes, an explosive triple-double performance from Nikola Jokic, and the scoring machine that is Will Barton made this one of the most exciting games for the Nuggets this season. After a closely contested game, the Nuggets took their 4th home victory in a row in a 117-108 win. As for next week, it looks a little familiar. The Nuggets travel to Milwaukee to take on the Bucks tonight. Then they get to sleep in their own beds as the Spurs return to the Pepsi Center for a rematch Friday. The Nuggets are next in Denver on Sunday, and the week ends with the Clippers at the Pepsi Center on Tuesday. Can the Nuggets continue their home streak? Will Devin Harris find his groove in Denver? Stay tuned to BearZone to find out.
Last night, the Colorado Avalanche took on the Montreal Canadiens and earned a 2-0 win for a franchise 10th straight home win. Avalanche goalie Simon Varlamov made an impressive 44 saves in the shutout. It was a scoreless first period, and the Avs sealed the win with goals from Carl Soderberg in the 2nd and Alexander Kerfoot in the 3rd. After the win, the Avs are sitting in 6th in the Central Division with an overall record of 31-21-4. The team travels to Winnipeg tonight to take on the Jets at 6 p.m. When football season ends, it can only mean one thing. Baseball season is right around the corner. Pitchers and catchers reported to spring training this week, with teams reporting Monday and Tuesday. It's been a very slow offseason with more than 90 free agents still available. Things might begin to heat up with the signing of top free agent Yu Darvish, who signed a 6-year, $126 million contract with the Chicago Cubs last weekend. Of the top 50 free agents, only about half have signed, including Lorenzo Cain, Wade Davis, and Carlos Santana. Another big storyline is the Miami Marlins fire sale under new CEO Derek Jeter. The team traded 4 of its stars, including Dee Gordon, Giancarlo Stanton, Marcell Ozuna, and Christian Yelich. The winter also included the announcement of the 2018 Hall of Fame class. Voters selected Chipper Jones, Jim Thome, Vladimir Guerrero, and Trevor Hoffman to the Hall on January 24th. And finally, how could we forget two-way star Shohei Ohtani, the Japanese Babe Ruth as he's called, signed with the Angels. We can't wait to see how these players fit in with their new teams. Stay tuned to BearZone for all the news around spring training.
And that is our show for tonight. Be sure to stay up to date on our Twitter and Instagram pages, BearZone UNCO, and on YouTube, Bear News 98.
Make sure to like us and to join us every week for BearZone. All sports, all the time for UNC Athletics. Good night.